We'll call to order the City of Douglasville City Council regular meeting for tonight, which is August the 2nd. Our invocation will be done by Dr. Stephen J. Callis, Senior Pastor of First Church of the Nazarene. After that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Good evening. Good to be with you guys again. Thank you for continuing to recognize and allow God his rightful place in our midst tonight. Let us pray. Our Father, holy is the name of God. We honor you tonight in this place. You are the God of love and grace, whose love and grace is for every person, no matter the age, the ethnicity, the gender, even the ideologies. You, O God, love each one all the same. And I pray that our lives would reflect your love to those around us, that we would love without discrimination. And I pray for this council. Thank you for them and all of our community leaders, and pray your wisdom tonight in this convening. And we pray this in the name of Christ our Lord. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and thank you so much, Pastor Callis, for the invocation and that prayer of unity. We appreciate that. I will read the announcement, and we do have a presentation tonight. I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's regular voting meeting. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. This is a City Council regular meeting of agenda items where official action will be taken tonight for the items that were discussed last Thursday at our legislative work session. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss your business. There are just a few protocol items I'd like to make you aware of before we start the meeting, and hopefully we'll all be on the same page. I'd ask that you would please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair of that committee to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair, and if you deviate from this requirement a second time, will result in requesting you to discontinue speaking. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers or speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on conversations with the audience, or be disruptive in any way as we continue to go on with the meeting. I'll remind you that we're only required to accept public comments on zoning matters, and if you would like to make any other comments, again, you can come at the citizens and delegates section. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, we ask that you please put those in silent mode or turn those off until the meeting is over so that they will not be disruptive. Now, the agenda items we handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, then the person representing that item or applicant will make his or her presentation. You'll come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and then you can go on with your presentation. Then myself and council members will possibly ask clarifying questions so that we will be able to make a decision and vote. We ask that you would please bring only new information to the body when you come forward. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There's 20 minutes for those in favor, 20 minutes for those in opposition to each item, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. Prior to approaching the podium, there are cards that are on the table. We ask that you please fill those cards out. It will give us your name and address for the record, and you can hand those to the city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right. Each person only has one opportunity to speak on the agenda item. This is not a question and answer or a debate format. We're just here to receive the information, deliberate, and make our decisions. Please address your comments to the chair and not the audience. And again, if you have any information that is repetitive, we ask that you would please refrain from doing that and just bring new information. If you have anything that's printed, we ask that you would give that to our city clerk. She will make copies and pass that out to the council. Those are the rules, the protocol for the meeting. And now I will go to a presentation. I'm excited about this presentation. It's the 2021 Internship Program presentation to myself and council members, and it's going to be led by Dr. Bryan Westfield, who is in our Human Resources Department. We ask that you would come forward and talk to us about our interns.
Dr. Bryan Westfield, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, council members.
Good
As you're aware,
afternoon.
this intern program started on the 28th of May, and it will end this Friday, August 6th. It's a bittersweet week as we say goodbye to them, but the focus this evening is for them to come up and share some of their accomplishments and their projects with you and answer any questions you might have about their particular department and what they accomplished. We have 6 interns, but one did leave early for law school. That will also be in the presentation. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Mesvin.
Do we need to come around so we can see? Is it or you?
Yes, that might work.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Mesvin Gabriel Gazayan, Finance Department, 6695 Church Street. Madam Mayor, members of the council, over the duration of the past 2.5 months, I've had the opportunity to learn, explore, and apply myself to the day-to-day operations of the Finance Department in the city of Douglasville. Additionally, I have had the opportunity to work on some critical projects when it comes to finance operations. During my second week at the city of Douglasville, I was responsible for commencing and completing the revenue manual. This manual allowed me to see firsthand where exactly the city generates its earnings. Additionally, this revenue manual will be a critical tool in years to come for the budgeting process. Secondly, I've also had the chance to contribute to the process of the bond application for the city. My responsibility in this project was to craft 3 separate policies that would ensure debt holders would have full confidence in the financial practices of the city. The 3 policies were the minimum fund balance policy, the investment policy, and the debt management policy. When crafting these policies, I had 2 things in mind. Number 1, lift the current ratings from the S&P of the city of Douglasville from adequate to strong. And number 2, ensure that City Manager Hampton and Finance Director Callan would have greater flexibility when making decisions, financial decisions for the city. I'm confident enough to say that when crafting these policies, I have made the city more financially independent, make sure they have a superior investing practices, and limitation of debt. Another great series of projects I've had the opportunity to work on is the recording process. During my first day at the city, I read word for word the city's policy and procedures on capital asset acquisitions as well as disposals. Using the knowledge I learned, I was able to record the acquisitions and disposals, which thus allowed the city's finance department to achieve greater internal controls by having a strong accounts man looking over the most valuable assets of the city. Finally, I was responsible for organizing the city vehicle information and RFPs into a centralized database to ensure the smooth operation of accounting practices with the city for years to come. I also organized receipts and documents to ensure compliance with state code. Just a quick overview of some of the other projects I've had the opportunity to work on. I had the opportunity to audit 3 separate departments within the city: the police department, Parks and Rec, and Public Services. I also researched how other cities conduct alcohol audits. Finally, I contribute to the city's audit process by determining exactly how much benefits city retirees as well as current employees are entitled to. As I close, I can say with the utmost amount of confidence that the contributions I have made over the last 2.5 months will have a lasting impact on the finance department and the city as a whole for years to come. Before I end, I would like to thank you, Madam Mayor, for establishing this program, as well as the support of the council. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions. Yes.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. You were very impressive. Thank you so much you read word for word, you said, in the finance department on the PPP.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot. That's a lot. We're so excited to have had you, and really excited about your process through the police department, Parks and Recs, and finance. I'm certain that city manager, Ms. Hampton, and our finance director will take all this information and just integrate it into the city's future. So thank you so much, and I know it's difficult to get in front of people and talk, so you did a wonderful job.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other questions from council members? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I tried. Thank you. My actual school is Georgia State University. However, when crafting the theme for this presentation, we decided, since all of the interns want to pursue additional education beyond the bachelor's year, that we find an education theme. So mine was the University of Finance, and as you can see, those are the faculties in correspondence to my projects.
That is so funny. Okay, I was just wondering so that people can feel pride in what university you represent, if you all would tell us once you come up what school that you're attending, or you've graduated and you've gone on to grad school or law school, or whatever else you're doing in the future. Just tell us a little bit about your future. I'm not asking for the 2 to 5 year plan, but just a little bit of something about the future.
Yes, ma'am, of course. So I'm getting ready to attend my senior year at Georgia State University, and I'm going to finish with a bachelor's in finance.
I know your son is there. Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. My name is Skylar James, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. I attend Georgia State University. I'm going into my junior year. During my time at this internship, I've been able to work on some incredible projects that I'm extremely grateful and proud to say that I had a hand in. One of those is being able to implement and cultivate a DE&I program here at the city in order to create a more well-rounded and culturally inclusive work environment for the city employees. I've also had the chance to build partnerships and relationships with different colleges and universities in the state of Georgia in order to increase the access that the city has to different job boards and employment opportunities in order to diversify the talent pool of those who are willing and wanting to start their career at the city of Douglasville as well. Another thing I had a chance to do is to track all of the incoming candidate applicant sources to see which agencies and professional organizations are the most attractive to future and potential employees here at the city as well. As well as dealing with all things recruitment, I've been able to see the entire recruitment process from the minute a candidate submits their application until the very end of the onboarding process, and it's the employee's first day at work. So I've been able to work on some incredible things, like I said, and this was just an incredible opportunity where I was able to learn so many things and gain so many experiences that I can take with my future career paths and whichever way that goes. So thank you. This was a great opportunity.
Very good.
And
Thank
any
you.
questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Skylar. Let's see. You were talking about universities so how was that? Did you prepare some type of social media or some kind of campaign that you're going to send to those universities, or you were just doing checkpoints to see which ones in the geographical area or in the state of Georgia might be interested in coming to the city of Douglasville?
Yes, well, I was able to reach out to different universities and colleges and HBCUs like Georgia State, Spelman University, et cetera. And I was able to see how they were reaching out to different students that go to their school to be able to advertise our own job openings at that school. So when students are graduating or whenever they want to have an internship like this one, they're able to see which job openings are available to the city of Douglasville.
Very good. And more specifically, we're looking for police officers, so we do have some vacancies there where we are aggressively looking for HBCUs and other universities to try to recruit young people to into public service to serve in the police department. And I've seen you at the front desk. How was that experience? Did you see a lot of people coming into City Hall and all those? Tell me I shouldn't say a funny story, a unique story about someone that's come in asking questions, because sometimes they'll come to the city, but they're supposed to be at the county or the school board. Or,
I've learned that people hear the word Douglas, anything, and they automatically assume that it's the city of Douglasville, where it could be Douglas County. And I've also just realized how open that the city is to its citizens, and that if someone comes in and they want to speak to you, the mayor, or any council member or anybody in human resources or whatever the case may be, that it's completely open doors, which is something I thought was really interesting to see, being my first experience in local government.
Very good. And human resources really is kind of like the engine a lot of times to cities, but people don't see that. I always say you're like, and you all probably haven't seen Wizard of Oz. When we were growing up, every year it was kind of like 10 Commandments or something. There's a date where you sit down and watch the Wizard of Oz. But in the Wizard of Oz, the wizard was behind this curtain and all this stuff was happening, and Toto went over there and started playing with the curtain, and he said, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. He's the wizard. So it's kind of, that's HR. You're behind the curtain, but HR really is the engine that helps the city to move. So thank you for coming to the city of Douglasville and doing your internship here.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Questions from the council members? Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Schuyler. Let's give her a hand.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is John Gordon, 6701 Church Street. And this summer I had the pleasure of working with the Community Development Department. This summer I had the wonderful opportunity of working with the wonderful Maya Jackson, the fairness of Bryan Jackson. And in that department, I've learned a lot of things. Now, I understand that this is a new experience for me and that this is out of the range of what I'm on track to, but this is a wonderful experience that I actually wouldn't take for granted. So during the zoning department, I've actually read and interpreted some zoning maps, and the material inside of the interpretation of the Unified Development Ordinance. And within that Unified Development Ordinance, which we call the UDO, are a lot of sections and a lot of rules. So trust me, that binder full is very worth memory. So I've also analyzed and requested PZE processes and process applications through online BSNAs, in which I think Councilman Adams can recommend. I've gave some inspections through the phone. So you can understand that customer service will be and provided as well. I'm a great customer service at it. So, so as well as it's true, you got to take that over my manager, Councilman. But so along those inspections and customer service, to give you all introduction that I'm true to become an entertainment attorney, and although this is outside my fields, I did meet some wonderful attorneys of the city of Douglasville. And not only have I met them, but I've actually gained the skills of reading and researching public cases for public hearings. So just to say I've learned two things at once, hit two birds with one stone. So, and also to mention that the staff of the community development are wonderful people, and that I will never take the opportunity again, and always cherish this summer of what I did here. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. You have the charisma to be an entertainment attorney. I see you looking fly. But thank you so much. And going to the Community Development Department, you were very helpful. I did see you at the front desk at times, and one time I did an impromptu, and you were working away like an elf in there. So let's talk to me about your future and what you want to do and all of that. I know you want to be an entertainment attorney, but just like a little bit about yourself.
Gotcha. So as becoming a rising junior at Georgia Southern University, I will graduate and go on to law school at Georgia State University, where I will be in the entertainment industry. So in regards to, I know there are a lot of interns as well in regards to being an attorney. So we're just on our way in our field trying to see which field matches this to make sure we get ahead of our career path and know what we're doing in life. So that's the path I'm headed on.
Very good. My son was at Georgia Southern. I told you you have to really concentrate. Concentrate at Georgia Southern. There's a lot going on and lots of fun at Statesboro. But the planning process for zoning verifications and all of that is really intricate and cumbersome, and you really have to pay attention. So
It is.
I'm glad you were able to help Councilman Adams. If we have any questions, we may, give you a call.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Any comments from council members or questions? All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and distinguished members of the council. My name is, let's adjust this. My name is Freya Brendel Tanis. I am entering my third year and final year of my Master's of City and Regional Planning and Master's of Science and Civil Engineering at Georgia Tech. And I had the wonderful opportunity to work in the Community Development Department and Engineering Department this summer. My primary task was researching how we can make our next steps within the framework of the Atlanta Regional Commission's Green Communities program to improve the sustainability of our offerings to the public, as well as how we operate as a city. Through that process, I've gotten to sit down with multiple departments, including public services and also community partners like the Chamber of Commerce to identify different current efforts in sustainability, as well as future partnerships between departments and with the city. I've also gotten to work this summer on a number of different plan reviews and traffic studies for the engineering department, and sat on meetings for different transportation projects around the area, including Highway 5 and the Bike and Ped Committee. Last but not least, I've had the great opportunity this summer to use my skills in GIS as well as programming to improve the efficiency of certain departmental practices, including our zoning verification systems, as well as our cemetery management. And thank you all so much for this time and for the wonderful summer. And if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you so much. I know it's intimidating to stand in front of people and have to say all this stuff, so we appreciate you, Freya. And I had come to visit you one day as well, and you were working away. I think you had 2 or 3 computers all at the same time. So using that Georgia Tech brain in engineering is very exciting. And thank you so much for choosing us and applying to the city of Douglasville. So I serve on the Atlanta Regional Commission Board of Directors. I'm the vice chair, and I'm on the TAQC, which is Transportation, Air, and Quality Commission, and that is inclusive of bike and pedestrian. So how do you think, when you were studying, that we are compared to other communities, if you were able to look at other communities, that are we preparing ourselves for the future because people want to be, healthier and not get into cars with emission and do walking and stuff? How do you think we fared?
I think that we have a lot of potential, but I think we also have a far way to go, given the current state of, we're still a very car-focused community, especially in relation to travel between from us to Atlanta or other cities around the area. looking at some of our current plans, such as our bike ped plan for the city of Douglasville, there are a lot of efforts that are in the works that will definitely improve the sustainable mobility and active transportation of our community, and I am excited to continue following that throughout my career.
Well, very good. I know we have a lot of Greta buses that come in and take people to work into Atlanta every day. The county did implement, they're like little mini buses, 12-passenger vans that take people around in the city. So we're working on it. We're trying to become more mobile and help folks to get out of their cars, and especially bike and pedestrian. We have a new bike program at our parks at Hunter Park, which is exciting. So we're working on it. And you're at Georgia Tech, so you're right downtown, like the Georgia State students in the hub to see what's going on in the community. So what's your future? I know you already have your master's, and are you going to be a doctor one day?
Possibly.
Possibly. Possibly.
Not if you had asked me maybe 2 years ago, but I'm thinking about it. But I do want to continue. My primary interest is transportation, as well as stormwater management and the use of GIS and other technology. And I enjoy working. I really enjoyed my time this summer at the local level, and I would like to continue working in local planning.
Very good, very good. I'm on the Water and Sewer Authority as well, been there since 2006. We have the best water in the state, the best tasting water in Douglasville, Douglas County, with a Dog River Reservoir, and maybe plug into, I'm on the U.S. Conference of Mayors Water Commission as well, just to, water is so expansive, so that's exciting that you do GIS and stormwater. I'll open the floor for other comments from council members. Anything? Okay, thank you so much. Let's give her a hand.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. I just want to first start off by saying thank you all for providing an opportunity to partake in this internship. It definitely has expanded my knowledge about local government and the importance of local government throughout the state of Georgia, and especially in Douglasville. I just want to welcome you to Parks and Recreations University. During my time here, I was able to have 3 courses that I was able to teach. Social Equity Planning 101. I was able to work with our assistant Chris Bass on this project, but this project is going to take some time to come to fruition. So we're going to continuously work on that. But one of the things that we found is that social equity within parks and recreations is very important, and it has a lot of utilization in regards to the city of Douglasville and the future of the city of Douglasville. The second course that I was able to take, and I would say is my favorite course, was the Digital Media Camp 112. I was able to work with youth from 9 to 12, or 9 to 14, I should say, and teach them the importance of digital media and how they're able to use that skill set to be able to ensure that they're safe online and be able to produce content, since that is something that is going to be a huge emphasis going on into the future. And it was so successful that we had one session and we had to create a second session. So seeing that there is a need for that in this community was I was very grateful to see that. And lastly is the fee structure analysis 203. We were able to work with the athletic director to make sure that the athletic field's rental process is more efficient, especially when it comes to cost. Looking at other neighboring cities and communities and seeing how much they're charging versus what the city of Douglasville is charging was something that was done, and it was very useful, and hopefully we're going to be able to start seeing some of those changes in the near future once it works its way throughout the city of Douglasville to get approved. I would now like to turn it over to any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kareem. You didn't have the beard when you came, did you?
I didn't. I didn't.
So what university do you attend, and what's your future? What are you looking
Well,
at?
I went to the University of West Georgia. I just graduated in May, and now I'm about to attend Georgia State University to get my master's in economics.
Okay, very good. So we have one of the council members whose family who's at University of West Georgia, and son is at Georgia State. So, you know, if you need any kind of Mayor Pro Tem will help you out with that. But I was looking for you the other day because my cousin was here, and he's in your fraternity, but I wanted to come to the parks, and we went to all the parks, and you must have been working.
Yeah.
Because we started out at JD, then we went to Hunter, and then every park I went to, I said, well, where's Mr. Kareem? I was trying to catch him, and I was trying to catch, who else did I miss? I missed you. I missed the brother right there. So I was trying to catch you guys just to see how you were doing and to check in with you. But I understand that you were very hardworking. So I want to talk to you about the digital media camp.
Yeah.
Was that at Jesse Davis?
No, that one was at Hunter.
Okay. Now, I think Miss Regina Chapman said that you were down at JD with the little people, and then you went to,
Yeah, I
so
was
how
there-
did that happen?
Well, I was there for the athletic camp, all sports athletic camp for a week. So I was primarily seeing how Parks and Recreations operates. So being able to see what Jesse Davis is like, and also being able to participate in various different camps. So that's how I ended up at Jesse Davis one week and back at Hunter. But primarily I was working at Hunter Park.
You were like running around, and I think one day you were at West Pines. Did you go over to West Pines too?
Well, I went to West Pines just to look at the parks, but nothing too long.
Okay, so that was the day I was looking for you. You were all over. So that's great that you were with Mr. Bass and excited that you had an opportunity to visit our parks and do that digital media camp and look at the fee structure, which is really, we want to be equitable
Right.
and not overcharge or undercharge. So I'm glad you were able to do that. And you had a great experience, I guess.
Yes, I
Well,
did. I
good.
learned a lot.
Very good, very good. So open up for questions from anyone. Yes, sir. Oh, this the chair of Parks and Recs.
I was curious, have you had an opportunity to see the plans for like Jesse Davis Park and Willing Workers?
Yeah, I actually was able to go with Mesfin on a tour of all the parks one day, and we did get to see what Willy Wonka.
Willing Workers.
Willy Workers.
There you go. WW. It's
right.
Willy Wonka's fun too.
So we were able to see how that park is coming along, and then also being able to see all the other parks throughout the city.
Do you feel like that the plans that we're going forward with will address some of the social equity?
I feel like it will. However, looking at the other wards throughout the city of Douglasville, there's definitely a need for other parks to be spaced out throughout the rest of the wards. So that's something that I would highly recommend if that was ever to come up again in the future with expanding Parks and Recreation, so it's more equitable.
Did Councilman Estes tell you to say that?
Not at all.
This is, I feel it coming from this side of the room right here, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Estes, to get some more parks in the city and their wards. Yeah, something. So as a young person, and this is open for all the interns, some of the things that we're projecting for the city and growth with our town green and some other things, you think that you all would come back to the city and maybe move and buy a condo and work? We want to really open up for, my kids are 18, 20, and 22. So I don't know if it's Gen X, Y, Z, millennial. I don't understand all that. But young people, would you come back to Douglasville? Would this be someplace you would consider coming to, put down some roots in the future?
Well, I grew up in the city of Douglasville, so
This is home, Skylar.
home, so I've been able to see the changes over the years as I've grown up, even from like the demographics to just the different things that have been implemented over the years. So this is definitely something I can see continuing to grow in the way that it has been.
You would come home? Like come to Jamaica? You would come? Okay, okay, good. Anyone else?
Going
Yes,
back
sir.
to what Skylar said, Douglasville is the only town and city that I've known. I mean, 21 years.
Uh-huh.
Born and raised in this city, so it's always going to be home. I can always consider coming back here, even when I'm moving on to greater things. And something interesting I've noticed since coming back to the city from Atlanta is that a lot of the changes I
Great.
Exceeding my expectations, so I could not be more proud to
Oh.
work with the city during this time of great transition. So
That's exciting to hear. Now, which high school did you all go to? You went to DC? And-
South Paulding High School.
Okay, it's in the area. Thank you. That's so exciting to hear that you all would consider coming back and playing some roots. And anybody, Precia?
I would consider it. I have been on record multiple times
Uh-huh.
that I don't really ever want to drive to work again.
I know. But look, Greta comes out here to get transportation.
It's improving.
Yes.
I think there are opportunities, but I would definitely consider it.
Well, good. We always want to keep the door open and know that we're welcoming to everyone. We need good entertainment lawyers too, you know.
So for one, I've never been in Douglasville, the city of Douglasville, and I had no business ever coming here.
Well, that's why we have
With
this.
that being said, when I started working here, I would never think that I would be able to come back. But I can say that the city of Douglasville has produced a good amount of demographics for the younger population. I mean, I've seen all the new houses being built. It's a good setup for people that are starting off new lives, new opportunities. So I can say like the younger generation would definitely have a future in the city of Douglasville. Something that I thought of myself of moving here. I mean, you all have an amphitheater.
Yeah,
being
that's
built, so
yes.
That's a major lead into the younger population. So you guys are doing a good job. And that's what the city needs, is younger people being in to promote more population. So.
Very good, so that we won't die on the vine. I went to I went to Villarica's amphitheater to see the Daz Band a couple of weeks ago, and it was really fun to see families out there of all ages. The whole demographic was just a variety of people, and it was really, really fun. So I went there, and then I went to the mayor McDougal hosted me. Then I went to Fairburn, Georgia, to see some businesses that were there as well. So that was exciting. All right, Noop, what you think? Would you come back?
Yeah, I would say I agree with John. I'm from the east side of Atlanta, from Loganville, Georgia. So up to the point of going to West Georgia, which is in Carrollton, I never had a need to come past Six Flags because that was about the only thing that I would need to. But going to West Georgia, one of the things that I used to do was come to Douglasville to go, whether it's Arbor Place Mall or even a lot of the restaurants off of Chapel Hill. That was our main source of entertainment from Carrollton coming to Douglasville. So yeah, definitely in the future, I do see myself potentially moving back to the city of Douglasville and starting a family here.
Very good. Well, you all have been just so exciting, and it's been a blessing to see a dream come to reality. I see Miss Maya Jackson's there. I think she was our first class of interns. And before the pandemic started, I was talking to Miss Tia Austin Bean about a youth council and trying to get that started. Councilman Davis and I were looking at students in the high school, and we had some, were they called something dinners, city manager, where we went to we had students from the high schools, and then we were going to each ward to talk to people and see what they wanted in the community. So thank you for your assessments. And do you have any questions, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just so impressed by what you guys have accomplished. I mean, the extent of your portfolios. Did you guys leave anything for our full-time staff to do? I mean, you cover just about everything, it seems. Now, it's impressive, and it's exciting to get people at your age involved, because so many people can just sit around and complain about what's going on. You guys stepped up and did something. You know, that's half the success is getting out there and doing and participating. And you guys did more than just participate. You accomplished. And at this level, and one of you said it, I can't remember. You know, so much happens at the local level. You know, you can only affect national and state politics so much, but it's at the root here in your community is where you can have the biggest impact, the biggest change, and you guys are now part of the solution. So you should be proud of yourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? If not, I'm sorry you had to stand up there all that time. Let's give him a hand, Brother Leslie, a hand. Are you going to present, Dr. Westfield? Okay. Oh, okay. Young people and technology.
Hello, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Venicia Campbell. I am currently serving as the city's legal intern for the summer of 2021 program. I first want to start off by saying I apologize for my absence. I would have loved to complete the internship in its entirety. However, I received an offer to attend law school, so I had to relocate a little sooner than I expected. I do want to start off by saying that the internship program for me was really a good experience. It was very insightful, and I got to work on projects that allowed me to learn more about the city as well as local government in its entirety. Some of those projects were small box ordinance and moratoriums, which I was not familiar with at all prior to starting this position. So I was happy to get to. I also got to do research and drafts on nuisance abatements for different properties around Douglas County. I did the drafting of the contracts for the Youths Against Violence speakers. I also got to reformat the contract tracker for the city manager and the mayor, which was probably my lengthiest project, but it also was probably one of the ones that needed to be done the most to kind of help the workflow of the contracts that come in the future. And I also got to work on processing procedures and the purchasing policy. And then my last project that I got to work on was the rules, procedures, and bylaws for the ethics committee, kind of getting a draft together for that so that that could be presented to them as well. Again, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I'd like to thank HR and Lynn, Attorney Woodward, and the rest of the staff upstairs that treated me so warm and welcomed. And I look forward to seeing you all again after I earn my JD. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's give her a hand.
Well, that concludes
So
their
cute.
presentation. If there's any additional questions or comments?
Where did the young lady, where was she accepted to go to law school?
She went to Southern Law Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Yes.
Baton Rouge. I know it. Any, oh, Lord. Okay, any other comments? Thank you so much. Let's give them another hand as we go back to the deals. Thank you all so much. You're wonderful.
Madam Mayor, if we could we get a picture with the interns and the council members, please?
Very impressive group. Okay. Good seem to have everyone coming back. All right, so we'll move on with the next item, which is item number 5. I'll open the floor to approve the minutes of the special called meeting and executive sessions of July 15th, 2021, and the legislative work session and executive session of July 15th, 2021, and the regular meeting and executive session of July 19th, 2021. Open the floor for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilman Adams. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. It's been properly moved in second to approve the minutes. Do we have any corrections, deletions, or any concerns as it relates to the minutes from the council members? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are unanimously approved. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. Is a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Adams. It's been properly moved in second by Councilmember Estes to approve and Councilmember Adams to second. Do we have any corrections as it relates to the consent agenda from council members? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on then to item number 7, which is Economic Development Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to Finance Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
one item tonight under Finance. It's authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Bartow Paving Company Incorporated for road resurfacing for the 2021 LMIG completion project RFB 2021-004. Mr. Roberts was before us on Thursday, gave us information about the bid process, and I know that some of us were not present on Thursday, so if you have any questions about that, this would be the time to ask those questions or make comments. Do we have any? Okay. Mr. Roberts is with us, so if there are no other questions, then I'll make a motion that we approve item 21-321.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved in second, moved by the chair and second by Councilman Adams and second by Councilmember Estes to approve item 21-321. Do we have any additional comments or questions? Thank you. I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-321 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all we have tonight.
Thank you so much, Councilman Adams. We'll move on to Housing and Community Affairs Committee. I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem to please take this committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business under the Housing and Community Affairs Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on then to Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
At this time, no items, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You have one.
10? Oh,
You're looking at your other committee.
laptop went blank on me. Okay. I have one item. Item A, adopt the referendum ordinance notice of the election and other applicable documents regarding the November 2nd, 2021 referendum for Jesse Davis Park General Obligation Bond. Ms. Callen. Thank you.
Karen Callen, Finance Director, 6695 Church Street. And we discussed this Thursday night. This document tells you some of the details for the bond referendum. It was presented to you by our city engineer, Marcus, in May. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
Council members? Okay. Madam Mayor, make a motion we approve.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Davis. Is there a second, please? Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. It's been properly moved and second to approve item 21-234. Do we have any additional comments or questions from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-234 is unanimously approved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have at this time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Councilman Davis and Finance Chair or Director Callen. We'll move on to Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under Personnel and Organization.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on then to item number 12, which is Planning and Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
one item tonight, and again, I say one.
Emphasis.
That's an
Under the
anomaly.
Planning and Development Committee, I don't know what's wrong, there's something going on. But adopt an ordinance to de-annex approximately 17.248 acres on Bright Star Road located land lot 158, District 2, Section 5, and parcel 72, parcel ID is 0158-025-0072. Application by Marson Douglasville LLC and Marson Douglas Co. LLC. Stephen G. Horn is the manager, and Mr. Phil Schaefer with Douglas County Zoning Administrator is here with us. I'll give the applicant the opportunity to give us any other new information that may be applicable to it. I know that some of our members were not here, and specifically our Mayor Pro Tem, whose ward this item, this property sits in, was not with us. So I want to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding of what is going on. Mr. Schaefer, if you'll identify yourself for the record, and we'd love to hear from you.
Phil Schaefer, 8700 Hospital Drive, Zoning Administrator, Douglas County. So for our purposes this evening, I did bring documentation in case you hadn't seen it in your packet for a side-by-side of the actual site plan. The case arises some weeks back, Councilman Miller, that when I received a zoning verification letter from the applicant's representative, I noticed those are normally done for annexation purposes. And what was about to happen was the 60 acres or so that were in the county were about to be annexed into the city to join with the 17 acres we're talking about tonight to make a site development plan for 3 buildings that would cover approximately the 78 acres altogether. If you look at the top of Bright Star, and this property is on the west side of Bright Star entirely, at the top end of Bright Star there would have been 9 pieces of property that would remain in the county after annexation. And under state statutes, you're not allowed to create islands of county surrounded completely by city. So I alerted the applicant's rep that that was going to be a problem on unlawful annexation. We tried to work out some other site plan, some way to do this project so it would be joint city and county, but the developer couldn't rearrange the buildings quite so that one would fit on the city land and the rest would fit on the county, and we would jointly rezone our own properties and handle the development. That also meant it would be a little complicated with cross-jurisdictional development standards. So rather than do that, the applicant sought to de-annex the 17 acres that's in the city, join it up with the 60 acres that's still in the county, rezone all of it to light industrial for the purposes of the development. One of the complicating factors is that if you all were to de-annex it, there would be a period of time where the county would not be allowed to act on rezoning the property because its size of development requires a development of regional impact review by the ARC as well as GRTA. So the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority has to review the traffic situation, and ARC has to review the development of regional impact. So they would ask everyone, all our sister governments and agencies, to comment on this project. That takes 90 days, potentially, so we would not be able to act on the zoning. So we had our county commissioners adopt a resolution, first to say, yes, we're interested in the project, meaning we consent if you all would de-annex. So that's the first part of their resolution to you. But the second part is to forbid the actual applicant from submitting any kind of building permit for the property in the interim while you may de-annex and we would not be able to rezone. And so that's why this case is a little complicated trying to figure it out. I guess the choice for you all this evening is, do you even have an interest in this side of the property developing between Bright Star and the quarry as light industrial? And then the second part would be, is the scale of what they're proposing acceptable to you all in terms of de-annexation to allow the development to occur? And then, as I mentioned last Thursday, if you all had any comments to me personally, because if you did de-annex, I would probably be the person writing up the staff report for the county commissioners at the rezoning report. If you had comments specifically that you wanted to address in terms of scale, form, whatever, then it would be appropriate to at least let me know that now as part of what you're doing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. I'll open the floor for questions or comments, and I'll start on this end with Coach Watts.
Hey, Mr. Schaefer, the other night you said that you could see down the road maybe 10 years from now or so this ending this whole parcel, if it's joined together, ending back in the city. And I was just kind of curious about that.
I guess that's my Chicago background. I always remember when Chicago annexed up the interstate, the Eisenhower and the Kennedy, to take in O'Hare Airport. It was a royal route, but I'm used to cities being aggressive in annexation. In our case, we get along together quite well. So my admission was the city-county boundary is really fractured right now, and it always is better to have a smoother boundary between the two. So at some point, it would make sense for the city to annex a little bit of the county that's almost completely surrounded as it is. But that's up to you all whenever you decide. It's just, that's just my background. Normally, cities are aggressive at annexing.
All right, I was just curious about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Coach. Others? Ms. Miller?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Schaefer, I would like to first thank you for coming in and explaining this to us, because it's not a simple matter, as you've went over this with us. I want to make sure that I understand this correctly, though, because the purpose for de-annexation is because of the parcels that would be left in that island alone. But once it's annexed, its future is going to be right at a 1 million square foot warehouse.
So
And broken up into 3 buildings, but
actually a little less. The main building's about 480,000 square feet, and then there's 2 120,000 square foot buildings. So it's a little less than. It's still significant, but yes, it's.
And I understand the part about the de-annexation for the purpose of to keep it legal, to keep those 9 parcels from not becoming that island alone. But I am very much concerned about another warehouse, or even if it's broken up into 3, or I don't care if it's broken up into 7, but when you're looking at 800 square foot of warehouse and the impact that that has on our community and the impact that that has on our infrastructure that already cannot hold the amount of traffic that we have on that area over there on Highway 5. And honestly, it's really making me kind of sad, because in my short time so far here on City Council, I've seen a lot of warehouses. I've lost count of the number of warehouses that I've seen. But what I have not seen a lot of is projects that make me proud for our community, and things coming that I say, oh, wow, I can't wait to tell my family about this. I am worried for the amount of warehouses that we keep getting, and I don't understand why we seem to be a mecca for warehouses. So if the de-annexation is simply to get a warehouse, then that is a concern for me.
I think that it's economically driven. This is the developer that's across the street right now and has built 2 buildings over there on either side of Wood, and this is just their natural extension. I will say, if I were picking a place to do it, as much as I hate Douglas Boulevard at Highway 5 as an intersection problem that we have to address, we've always kind of viewed from the west, on the west edge of town, it's the east edge of the quarry back into Highway 5 that's almost historically been our industrial area, whether it's light industry or heavy commercial. That kind of triangle has kind of always been there. And so I think some of what you're seeing there is just a natural extension of, it won't work for residential, right, and it's hard to get commercial in there. So I don't know, I'm not trying to advise you, but I think if you're concerned about what's proposed there, then you have a vote. I mean, this is your opportunity to say, that's not what I want. I'm simply here trying to figure out how to help the developer in a path that would make sense for them. But, you know, this is still your 17 acres. You have control over it. Once you give it to the county, then you heard what my charge will be, is to write up a case report for the county commissioners to rezone it light industrial and see whether or not they would approve the light industrial proposal and the site plan you see. So I think if you're concerned, then
okay, thank you.
That's this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Others? Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer, for coming in and explaining everything in detail, outside of asking you if I can borrow your kilt like at Christmas time. I have a shirt like that. I just wanted you to talk to us about the residential portion. You did say that there were some homes in that
There
little
currently,
area?
yes, there actually are. There is a couple of residences on that side of, west side of Bright Star. I don't know that that's an appropriate place for residential, given the quarry is an active quarry right now. We do have residential in both the city and the county at the south edge of the quarry, but we get complaints all the time from quarry activity in those homes and what it's doing to them. So much so that when the quarry was, I guess, the application for the north side of 78, we rewrote our entire quarry codes so that it would be exceptionally advantageous to the homeowner as to how that quarry would be operated, to try and make sure we protected those homes, whatever was around it, should anything else ever develop. So the new county codes are really, really restrictive.
Yes, sir.
Quarries.
And we understand that the de-annexation is not, you're not really coming to us to talk to us about the development of what it is going to be. It's really about the property, just to make it smoother and de-annex those 17 acres into the county rather than being like an island in the city. But, you know, I know you can hear some of their concerns from council members in the wards for the citizens in regards to warehouses, truck traffic, which is a major concern in that area, spilling onto Highway 5 and trying to get to I-20, and/or having the residents be in a situation like we have in the tributary area where there is a lot of development and it's not so smooth with the residents and housing and people trying to get in and out. And since there are some residents in that area, residential properties, the difficulty maybe in, you know, egress and getting in and out of their homes.
Yeah, the applicant has, I think, got the residential properties on the west side of Bright Star is under contract, so all of those would be taken down to make way for the project. The residences I was talking about are a little further south, along the south edge of the quarry.
So that impediment is
and there would be a large buffer between them and those homes because of the pipeline easement. So you would have a much larger offset between development on the property and what was already there as far as residential development.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schaefer, appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I want to go back to Coach Watts, let him, he has, I think, another question.
Well, I wanted to share Council Miller's concerns, and also we've heard from other wards about the number of warehouses. But if I remember correctly, this particular parcel, and I think it's the parcel that's already in the county, you said backs right up to the quarry, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, there's not going to be any houses that are going to go in, and
I would hope not.
I wouldn't buy a house right next to a quarry, you know.
Well,
but,
the county's property is zoned residential. It's residential low density right now. The city's 17 acres is commercial. It's already zoned for commercial use.
So the county's going to have to rezone this once it.
Correct.
Okay.
It's been asked to rezone to light industrial.
Well, I'm just going to ask a question, and maybe Ms. Hampton, just as far as infrastructure, I mean, we've heard this brought up with other projects along Bright Star, Lower River Road, different places. As far as infrastructure, is there some long-range planning by the state or GDOT or the county and the city where we will have opportunities down the road to address some of the infrastructure? Because eventually, it's going to have to get addressed. You can only put so many cars and trucks on the road.
You all are in the midst of, as you know, in a sense, kind of the Arbor Station, Highway 5 transportation study. So that area is being looked at. So you will have some recommendations from AECOM. I would say maybe within the next 3 to 4 months, but that should be able to help guide some of your decisions as it relates to that area.
Thank you for reminding us of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Dodson, I believe you had a question. We'll just go down the line.
Mr. Schaefer, in the event that the city de-annexes the property, do you anticipate the development plan will require the main entrance to align with the Bright Star Connect?
That was what was shown, as I recall.
All right. Do you anticipate the county would require, as a condition of approval, that the developer install a traffic light at that intersection?
That would be up to Director Valentine as far as warrants. I don't know what the traffic count would be, and typically they go by what is warranted. There's an arithmetic to it, so I can't speak to whether it would be mandated. I can certainly express your desire to see one there, but again, they really strictly go by arithmetic when they start calculating this. And the traffic analysis, I'm not sure what it'll show, because there's the large building at the end of Bright Star Connector, and then there's the small one to the north on Bright Star and a small one to the south on Bright Star. But the main building, you're right, would be directly opposite the connector's termination at Bright Star. So my experience with our DOT is that yes, a driveway would be required there so it doesn't have traffic conflict. That's been my experience.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we know who the tenants of these buildings were, or is this purely speculative at this point?
Yeah.
Come forward, sir, and give us your name and address for the record,
This is
please.
Bowen Kendrick, 12301 Veterans Memorial Highway, and we represent the applicant in this. It's going to be essentially a very similar type of setup as what you were discussing, ma'am, down the road. It is a transportation type, shipping type facility. That's what it is. It does not have a tenant in it right now. It's one that would be built to bring in a potential client to do this. And until it gets to a certain point, that really won't be able to occur. So it's very similar to what's already there. And I do agree. I mean, I live in the tributary neighborhood. I know how it is there, and I hate to say it, but I'm from a much smaller town than this in South Georgia. Everywhere I go here is traffic. It strikes me as. I just don't even think about it during the day. And it's not, kind of seems like everywhere around here is like that, or is definitely moving that way. Right now, that property is sat that way vacant for a very long time. The homeowners are leaving. They have vacated the property. It's sitting next to a rock quarry, like Mr. Shaver said. At least this can be something very productive. I can bring some jobs into the county, and that's what they're hoping to do. So that I don't know if that answers your question, but that is what's going to be there. Similar sort of look and everything, set off back from the road a little ways. If something needed to happen with the roadway, that wouldn't be a problem. They're willing to invest a lot of money into the project. As far as any kind of tax abatement or anything, they've not been seeking one, nothing like that. They're willing to put the effort into it. And as Mr. Schaefer said, they have to go through a pretty significant process to deal with the traffic, with the county. How are those going to look, those turn-in lanes, all that kind of stuff. It's going to need to be carefully handled, and they have the ability to do so. So I don't know if that answers any of those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. I guess I would like to echo some of the concerns that my namesake, Councilwoman Miller, had expressed about the project, and maybe add a few of my own, which would be that the way this project is lined up, it's right literally at the end of the Bright Star Connector. So, you know, we've had this discussion regarding some of the other developments in the Bright Star corridor, the Bright Star Connector corridor, that, you know, what we think we would like to see over the long term is some nice office development, perhaps some retail, things along those lines. So try to start to push that development upscale a little bit. And if you're driving down there and you've got some nice development along the sides of the Bright Star Connector, and you get to the end and then you're looking right into a warehouse, which seems to be an inappropriate culmination to that corridor. You talked about the inappropriateness of the houses that are there now. I guess the houses to the south that are still occupied and continue to be occupied. Maybe we should be flipping that observation and say, is the warehouse appropriate to the houses that are already, because the houses are there now. There are people living there now. There should be some, I would think there should be some respect to the folks who are currently living there relative to what's coming down the road. We talk about the inappropriateness of potential residential development on this site because of the quarry. Well, I would like to look at this situation at a much, much longer term, because eventually the quarry will be played out. There will not be a quarry there someday because the quarries only give out the stone for so long. So the city and the county will have to find some use for that land in the future, perhaps. It could be a park of some sort like that. At that point, those parcels could become much more valuable, or be better utilized as residential or in some other fashion. So I'd like to take a look at this in a much longer term perspective. We talk about traffic, and again, we've had this discussion with the previous warehouse development that we turned down, or at least voted against a couple weeks ago. And I brought this point up at the time, and I'll bring it up again. We do these traffic studies that come up with, that say, okay, it's only going to be, you fill in the blank, 2% more traffic with truck traffic, 5% more traffic. It won't have a significant impact. But we never look at them in the long term. We never look at, okay, what is the impact of this development, plus this development, plus this development, plus this development? You start to develop an exponential increase as you go along because you're not taking those future developments into account. So it's not just a 2 or 5% increase in traffic, you're actually looking at a much bigger, because we're enabling these developments as we go along. I keep hearing the argument that we're saying, well, we've already established a precedent, we've already got a warehouse here, we've already got a warehouse there. I keep hitting myself in the head with a hammer, At some point, well, I've already hit myself 10 times in the head with a hammer, I'll just do it one more time. At some point, we do have to say, is this what we want? Is this the future we want for our community? What kind of development? I respect why you're here. You have to, you're representing your client and so forth. So this really isn't aimed at you, per se, but this really is, I think, a very strong debate about the future of our community. And I think Councilwoman Miller made a point of that. What do we want Douglasville to be known for, and what are we welcoming into our community? What precedent are we establishing? That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Others? Mr. Davis?
I'm just taking it all in and trying to see what the rock quarry in the future gonna bring.
Any comment? Any other? Councilman Estes?
I don't think it will surprise anyone to know that I am pretty strongly opposed to this idea. Having lived through this exact type of development very near, now I understand, our homes, I can't in good conscience vote to do such a rare thing as de-annexation for what amounts to the sole purpose of adding a warehouse, which is going to, as Mayor Pro Tem has said, only aggravate the existing issues that exist right there. I just can't.
I'd like to add what the council would like to see there. Because right now, as it sits with the north end of Bright Star Road that belongs to the county, it is becoming, and no offense to any mechanics that are here, it is a auto shop, drive-through. That's what's all there, and everything is there. And I am very sympathetic to what would like to be there, and what's there at the Bright Star connector. It's a nice roadway that is put there. It is very attractive. It would make a very good place for good shopping, something of that nature. It's all zone heavy commercial. And I've lived here for 5 years and nothing has happened there. All I ever see there are donut, tire marks in the roadway where people use that to drag strip and race down the roadway. And that's all that ever seems to happen there. And this is not going to last for a very long time as a residential area. That'd be nice if it did along that roadway, but I'm sure as people who've lived here a lot longer than I have realized that has all been pushed out. It's all moving out. And everything's just a rush to the highway at this point. Everything's close to the highway, and I'm sympathetic to that, but, and I am representing my client here and trying to do that, but it seems to be that's where everyone is heading, because that's where the money seems to be going. That's what it is.
I fully understand and appreciate what you're saying. The bigger issue for this particular issue before us tonight is we are essentially, by de-annexing this parcel, we are giving up every shred of control that we have over any potential development that's there to the county. And so we are, we're giving up and assuming that we can trust what's going to be done by others. So that's another layer of concern for me. I understand that, yeah, what other options are viable for this parcel? I get that. If it was reversed, where we were annexing the other 60 acres instead of de-annexing the 17, I'd probably be a little bit more open to discussing it, because then we would at least maintain control to some degree over the future development. But the way this is happening, we are forfeiting control, and I'm not willing to do that right now. Thanks.
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Chairman, I finally came up with a plan. What else would go next to a rock quarry? I wouldn't live near it.
Madam Mayor, did you have something else?
No, sir. I think it was a rhetorical question, Councilman
Oh,
Davis.
okay.
You weren't really asking for.
I thought you were about to reply.
No, it's rhetorical. I mean, I don't.
Yes, Coach.
I'm sorry, one last time. The 17 acres that we have is zone, if somebody wanted to come along and put a small warehouse in the 17 acres, would they be able to do it with the zoning we have in place right there, right now?
What is the present
It's heavy
zoning
commercial.
again, Ms. Williams?
It's heavy commercial.
Zoned heavy commercial at the moment,
So,
but not light industrial, which is what would be needed for
Right.
the warehouse.
but it's closer to that
Yes, it
than
is.
residential.
That
The
is
60
correct.
acres that is
That
in
is
the
correct.
county is residential. So the irony is, kind of thick here as far as, they have the larger parcel, they want to unite the two for this development. It's residential, and they're going to go with commercial, and the 17 we have is commercial. Anyway,
Other questions, comments?
I don't know. I would just add that I do sympathize with the issue at hand, being right next to a rock quarry and trying to figure out what could fit right there. I think right now, my biggest issue and concern is the amount of traffic that we already have on Highway 5. And over the next few months, while we wait on this traffic study to come back to see what it's going to take to get our roads up to par to handle the amount of traffic that we have right now before we add anything else. And you know what, they may come back with a plan and they're gonna say in 5 years, we can have your infrastructure up to par to hold another warehouse. But right now, I don't know what else our roads can hold over there. I'm sure that if we think outside of the box, though, we could probably come up with something that could go next to a rock quarry, and people might not care about the noise or the shaking. I don't know, someone had even mentioned, and this may sound crazy, but like a Top Golf over there, because I know that on this side of Atlanta, we have nothing to offer our citizens like that. So and before we go through a lot more warehouses over there and get to a point where no one wants to put anything here other than a warehouse, I would like to see us take a look at where these warehouses are going in a much more careful way before we are full of warehouses.
There's one thing I noted in looking at the zoning map. It's not directly related to what you said. It did occur to me, there is a portion of Bright Star, along all of Bright Star, that the city is responsible for right now because of that piece of property. And it's the only one that is responsible for along Bright Star. I guess in the de-annexation, that would also include losing responsibility for that portion of Bright Star. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. But that's not directly related to what you had to say. I know it's just something that occurred to me. And living in the tributary neighborhood, I do agree. I mean, people think about the warehouses, they don't like it. It's an interesting time for that too, given that it seems the last year or 2 years, everyone has just been promoting the warehouses by buying everything online. It's just where everything's heading to. It seems to be. And that's not an excuse, and I sympathize with Mr. Miller as well. You know, just to say that it's there already is not a reason to keep promoting it. But the question becomes, then what is going to be there and how long is it going to sit vacant? That's the question. If it's not going to be somebody who's ready and willing to develop and pay for it now, who is it going to be? And who are those people going to be in the future? And how long is that going to be at this point?
I had one question myself. What about the other small parcels, I believe? I don't know if Mr. Schaefer mentioned them to the north, to the south, I don't remember, that you had said were actually the cause of the issue. Have those owners been approached about this situation?
I don't believe they've been approached about the annexation issue, because I've talked to a couple of them. We recently had one of them on the west side of Bright Star at the Win Electric. They just came through for special use permit last year to put their, I think they were moving out of the city and into the county, so we had to give them a special use permit for their activities at that site, being heavy commercial as opposed to light industrial. They were able to do that. I wanted to add one more point. There is a valid rezoning request before the county right now to rezone the 60 acres to light industrial. I just want you to understand that's going to, if you say no to the de-annexation, which that's up to you entirely, they still have the 68 acres that they've requested to rezone light industrial for a site plan that involves warehouses. And that'll go before the county commissioners. Now, if you don't de-annex, obviously that's the monkey wrench. It'll have to be redesigned, and it might not, in fact, at that point, step up beyond the threshold for a DRI, at which point it could be immediately heard if they redesign the buildings, and the commissioners would hear that within the 30-day period that's normally our turnaround time. I'm not trying to weight this in any way. I'm not trying to sell this. I just want you to understand there is a valid rezoning request for 60 acres to be rezoned light industrial. And there is a site plan that involves warehousing before the county commissioners right now. So, you know.
Thank you for that information, Mr. Schaefer. What about, let's go back to the ownership, and maybe I'm confused. There's been reference to the warehouse developments that have been done already along Bright Star in the last 2 or 3 years on the east side. Is your developer the same as the developer of that piece of property? Or are you at liberty to say that?
I believe so, but I'm not entirely. It's a different company. I believe so. It is a different company. I'm not entirely. Different company.
So you're thinking it's a different developer that is coming, okay. I'm just curious if that is, I'm trying to get an idea of the look as far as the synergy, as far as the, okay. Okay.
So it just, again, back to Coach's comments from last week, the county's architectural standards and the city's architectural standards for light industrial are very similar. So what you would see in terms of a building reviewing that development plan, it would be very similar to what would happen in the county. Our committee would review it as far as approving that site development and the scale and the form, but the code itself is very similar. 75% of certain materials in the city and 60% of other materials. It's 80% in the county, so they're very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah.
On a project that size, you probably would not see there'd be any difference.
Yeah.
Yes, Coach?
I would go back to our attorney Dobson. You know, a big concern for me for that area, among others that have been mentioned, is the fact that it could be decided that a traffic light doesn't work there, and I would argue right now there's a need for a traffic light right there. If you're trying to get onto Bright Star off the connector, you better have your belt cinched up trying to get on there, because people are cooking and it's tough. So with trucks added coming directly out of there, I can't imagine a traffic study not revealing that a traffic light would be needed there. But of course, as Mr. Schaefer's pointed out, once we de-annex, we lose all control over that particular item. So.
Well, yeah, I think right now the west side is in the city, the northeast corner is in the city, the southeast corner is still in the county, if I recall my
Are
map.
you speaking of the
Bright Star,
intersection
yeah.
of Bright Star Connector and Bright Star?
Correct.
The way it appears to me on the map you provided is that the eastern side of Bright Star, both north and south of the connector, are in the city.
In the city?
And the western side, south of the connector, is in the city. That's the 17 acres.
Right.
But the northwest side is all in the county.
All in the county, okay. I
And
couldn't remember.
the reason that I'm familiar with this is because about the time I came into office, we had to move the entrance, the connection of Bright Star Connector and Bright Star Road because of
I couldn't remember
a
from
lack
last
of
year.
understanding between the city and the county. I'll leave it at that.
And we left that utility easement out
Yes.
in the county, which had to be annexed last year.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, you asked if I had a question. I was thinking I had the bubble on the side. I was just going to say, just in all transparency, as it relates to the county, the city and the county and our relationship as we try to grow this community together and in a respectful way, that the county has really been amenable to all of the requests that were presented to us to annex. They didn't fight. But this annexation or de-annexation is a little bit different in that it's very impactful. Not to say that those were small projects, they were not, but it may not have had such an impact the way this one does. So it isn't any disrespect, we're just really trying to be thoughtful about the future of the city.
It's very unusual, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
very
sir.
unusual.
Thank you.
So then in review, Mr. Schaefer, if we decide to de-annex, then the project that you have discussed with us or brought forward is basically the project that would come to the table as far as the rezoning request by the county to then zone all of it to light industrial.
That's correct.
If we do not agree to that and we continue to hold on to that 17 acres in the city, then there would basically be a redesign of a warehouse project, leaving this 17 acres out.
I would presume.
Okay, a redesign, okay. So I just want to make sure everyone understands where we are. We're not in a zoning hearing, we're just talking about a de-annexation or not a de-annexation, okay?
So regardless, it's going to be a warehouse.
It appears, we don't know. Right now, we are at least in control of the 17 acres as whether or not it would be a part of this development.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Gee, that's a lot.
It is.
No wonder we
It's
only
a
had
lot.
one item tonight. Madam City Manager. Other questions or comments before we close the discussion? Mayor Pro Tem wants to say something else.
No.
Are you sure? Okay.
I said, thank you.
In light of that, and with the information that we have been given and with the information that each of us has provided, I at this time do not see the support for this, so I am going to make a motion on item 21-395 that this be denied.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to deny.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. It's been properly presented for item 21-395 to be denied by the chair, Councilman Adams, and second by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. All those in favor of denying this item, do we have any more questions? I apologize. Any other comments? All those in favor of denying this project, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed and want to approve it, the same. It's unanimous that item 21-395 be denied. So sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all that we have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We'll move on then to Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We also have no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I have a couple of items. Item A, consider request for open container days in the entertainment district from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on August 21st, application by Karen Clark and Southern Sisters Entertainment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brianna White, Main Street Coordinator, 6701 Church Street. So tonight, the Southern Sisters Entertainment LLC has actually decided to withdraw their application and go back to the drawing board for more information and to see a different a date in the future.
Okay, Ms. Brown, are they going back to the drawing board?
Yes.
And when they come back, can you get a little more in depth with what's going on? And so we won't have to go through a whole lot.
Right, so that's basically part of the reason why they wanted to withdraw, to kind of rework their event in its entirety and make sure that they have all that you would like to see to have an event in the city.
Okay, so we'll take no action. Okay.
We'll take no action? Okay, thank you. Moving right along. Item B, adopt ordinance to impose maximum speed limits on additional city streets and roadways. Mr. Thompson.
Good evening, Marcus Thompson, 6701 Church Street, city engineer. Just want to reiterate to you guys that in order to change the speed limit for a roadway, we'll need a speed limit study conducted justifying the change in speed limit. Also, please keep in mind that the road will have to basically undergo certain criteria. For example, the length of the road will have to be a minimum of 500 feet. Also, another key factor would be the grade change in the road as well. And after that is considered, we will have to submit those roadways that we're looking to change to GDOT's District 7 office for review and approval. And then after that, submit it to the GDOT's Office of Public Safety to provide enforcement on the speed limit. And also, I was able to locate a traffic speed study for Whitley Drive. I know,
Oh, okay, good.
Madam Mayor, you mentioned that last Thursday. So we did perform a speed analysis October 1st, 2019 to October 31st, 2019. And just please note that the 85th percentile speed for the northbound direction was 28 miles per hour, and the southbound was 31 miles per hour. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think the speed limit for Whitley Drive is 30 miles per hour. Oh,
35, I think.
Okay. So, yeah, just wanted to make note of this speed analysis for you. Are there any additional questions?
Okay. Mayor and council, we have any questions?
I had a question.
Yes, sir, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I appreciate it. I was looking at you thinking you were one of the interns. I have to do my eyes like that. No, just kidding. But thank you so much for providing this information and especially for turning around that information for Whitley Drive. The ward representatives had an excellent town hall last Monday, and that was one of those concerns that was universal in the area of Whitley Drive was some of the citizens' concern about the speed. So I don't know if we can make this information available to those concerned citizens and let them know that the speedometer checks were done on those dates and to let them know the speed that was provided.
Yes, Mayor, I would assume that if we have their contact information, that staff would be able to email or
Okay.
phone and give them that information directly to them.
Yes, sir.
Understanding, of course, this was 2019. I don't know that there's a lot that has changed since that time because we had no additional development, but it continues to be and will continue to be a cut-through.
Yes, sir.
Both north and south. So thank you for that information. I know we're off on this maximum speed limit, but that is a good point, and I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And then the other concern that, or not concern, but just comment that I had is that that question was raised by me because of the town hall, but again, that the streets that's in this ordinance, that those streets are, the speed limits are imposed by the state. Is that correct, or GDOT? Or someplace it really is not it's not in the city's purview to change some of the residential streets. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just making certain. I know the police department, we were talking about that, and you were saying that 35 miles and all of that was based on the state requirements for residential streets in cities of Georgia. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Mr. Davis. Just curious, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Thompson, does these speed changes, does that work into our ordinance that we've been working on concerning golf carts? Does this help us in that area? Is there any information that we've gleaned, or where are we with that? Is there any way, Ms. Hampton, that may be a question to ask you, I'm sorry.
We sort of took a pause on the
Right.
golf cart matter, but I think, Marcus, you can tell him why we're actually doing this. This was actually a recommendation. This was not initiated by us.
No,
Okay.
it's, yeah, it's a recommendation from.
From the state?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Then my question was totally off base. I apologize. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I wanted to clarify something because I think that if anybody in my ward looks at this, the street that's of most concern to folks in Arbor Station, which is on the list, which was Creekwood Drive, and it's indicating on the chart that there's a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. So I want folks to understand that, again, stop me if I'm wrong, that this isn't institutionalizing that speed, is simply reflecting the current speeds around the city of various streets. And that the point of this is to create enabling legislation so that we can then regulate the actual street speeds that are not part of state highways.
That's correct.
Okay, so folks understand that all this is simply a first step to enable us to have, because I guess the police have not had specifically ordinances off which they can write tickets based on speed limits.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll have the opportunity, once this is in place, to then go back and then change speed limits where we think they need to be changed.
Yes.
Based on a study.
Based on the
Based
study.
on the study.
Thank you for that.
Regulating and clean up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other? If not, Madam Mayor, make a motion, we approve 21-399.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Estes. It's been properly moved by Chair Councilman Davis and second by Councilman Estes to approve item 21-399. Do we have any additional comments from council members? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-399 is unanimously approved.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Thompson. We'll move on then to Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you so much, Councilman Watts. We'll move on to Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
two
welcome.
items under the Technology Committee tonight. And the first one is to authorize the mayor to sign a quote from G2G Fiber, Inc. in acknowledgement of the charges and fees of $64,360 for the installation of underground internet fiber in the vicinity of City Hall and extending to the future amphitheater site. And Mr. Samuel Jenkins will gladly enlighten us on
I
any further
know.
information on this item.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Council, 6695 Church Street, IT Manager. So I don't have any further information, but can ask any additional questions. As stated last week with this one here, this will be the fiber that would go from City Hall to Courthouse Square underground, and also from Courthouse Square to Town Green. So this fiber will also serve as the backbone fiber to light up Town Green.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Any questions or comments from any other member of the council? Madam Mayor.
I do, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you so much. This is exciting, Mr. Jenkins. I'm getting prepared for our town hall, and this is just for the audience. This is the underground utilities so that they won't see all the wires once the new amphitheater and this whole area is going to be revitalized. And so for the city manager, I know we had an articulation agreement or some type of contract or agreement with Georgia Power and to help us to pay because it's very costly for underground utilities. Is this part of that?
Well, we are paying for it. We do have an agreement. It is not. This is something separate. So Marcus just walked out, but Marcus is working on the underground utilities with Georgia Power, AT&T, and Comcast. This is primarily just for fiber, for the data that you'll receive and the lights, as he's mentioning. Yeah, so this is separate.
It's
Correct.
separate.
But all the
This is
cost of the city.
Yeah, this is the city-owned fiber. So the city, we have our own fiber that connects City Hall to this building, to Courthouse Square, and also down to Club Drive, and all is that owned by the city. So this will be us replacing the overhead, the area fiber for that. So Comcast, AT&T, they're going to do their own. Georgia Power, they're going to run their own for their own service. But this right here is specific for the city fiber, owned fiber.
So you're not getting in the ground?
Yes, ma'am. It is going to get in the ground, but we're not going to bury it ourselves. We have a contractor who's going to bury it for us.
Okay, so, but it's not what's going on now on Bowden and Church Street. That's something different.
It's a be pretty much the same type process. They're also going to be running fiber and coax up under the ground as well. But they're actually doing their own. AT&T is actually going to have their fiber running that's going to connect like other utilities in the area, but not the cities. So the city, and what this would do, like in the long run, this right here will make it where we don't have to pay additional money. So for instance, if we want to connect this building to the building across the street, we would have to pay a lot more fee monthly for that if we were going to release it out through another company. So what company do, like in a geographical area that located like we are here, called like a campus network, what it called, you pretty much run your own fiber to the building so it can be connected like it's one building. So this right here, what that would be doing. Currently, we have that same setup here, but it's our aerial. So we're gonna like have our fiber going underground as well.
And we couldn't do it all at the same time, or we're going to have to dig back up when Georgia Power and other utilities come?
Georgia Power is not going to allow us to touch their equipment.
Okay.
So, nor will any of those other contractors. And essentially what Sam is saying is that what we're doing is allowing our facilities to talk. Currently, right now, the connection is overhead for the facilities to talk. It's completely separate from the electricity and the cable. That's with AT&T and Comcast. But we would not be able to touch any of their equipment.
Right. And that one question that we did ask, we tried to team up with them, but they each company, AT&T won't even play with Comcast. So AT&T is going to have to do their own. Comcast is going to do their own. So they like to do their own conduits and then put their own fiber through it. And the reason because of liability, something get like if they put another company conduit fiber through the same conduit and something happened to it, you're not sure who to blame. So that's why companies usually like to do their own.
Okay. Well, that's why I tell my kids to do technology. I'm just, you can tell by the questions, I don't really understand, but I'm understanding better. Thank you so much.
You're most
Thank
of
you,
the way
Mr.
there.
Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I was curious about the amount of disturbance in that area when they're doing the work. Does it shut down streets, or is it pretty?
Well, it doesn't really shut down the street. They're going to bore. It's similar to what's going on now. So they're going to pretty much bore the streets, bore up underneath. So they won't really close it off. But it'll be similar to like what they're doing like now, where it shouldn't be any disturbance or interruption. And if it does, it'll be a temporary, less than a day.
And when these other utility, Georgia Power, Comcast, when they come through with theirs, it'd be pretty much the same.
Right. Okay. So AT&T are actually there now, like pulling 4 big 4-inch conduit through now. So they're doing a pretty good job of not causing any type of disturbance now.
And they have to file for a permit to do that.
Right.
And so someone comes in and inspects to make certain that it's put back as they found it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So this whole Church Street going to be buried with all type of nice utilities within a year or so from now.
We were talking about in the previous discussion, the concept of precedent, and I think to me this seems to be the most valuable aspect of what we're doing here is we're establishing a precedent of placing utilities underground in our downtown. And it's a matter of time over a few more years as this is going to continue to happen, and eventually we will see, I think, most of the overhead cables and wires and whatnot taken away, and people will notice a vast improvement in the downtown. It's amazing how much you don't think of a little wire as being very distracting, but even when it becomes background like that, it adds to a certain messiness to it. And by getting these cables, getting the wires, getting all this underground, I think we're definitely establishing a precedent we're going to continue to see carried throughout the rest of the downtown. So, with that being said, unless there's any other questions or comments, I would like to place item 21-379 in the form of a motion of approval.
Thank you so much. That was a hearty second, so it's been properly moved by the chair, Mayor Pro Tem Miller, and second by Councilmember Adams to approve item 21-379. Do we have any additional comments or any deliberation as relates to this item from council members? Not hearing any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-379 is unanimously approved.
All right, Madam Mayor, the second and final item under the Technology Committee is to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Consumer Security Services, Inc. for the installation, cost and service fee of security systems provided to the city. Mr. Jenkins.
All right, so this right here, we had a couple of incidents that happened like within the last couple of weeks at our Club Drive facility. So we want to place this on our same security system that we have through the rest of the city before the Parks and Rec start moving their equipment into the building. So what this would do is pretty much install security sensors on all the ground levels and also the doors and also the back building behind the Club Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Any questions or comments from members of council? It seems pretty routine and necessary. So, unless there are any other questions at this time, I would like to place item 21-396 in the form of motion for approval.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. It's been properly moved by the chair, Mayor Pro Tem Miller, and seconded by Councilmember Davis to approve item 21-396. Do we have any additional comments or questions as it relates to this item? I don't see any. All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 21-396 is unanimously approved as well.
And that is all we have tonight under the Technology Committee. It is a rare evening when we had actually more under technology than under planning and development.
I know it. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Oh, I know that's right. And thank you, Mr. Jenkins. We'll move on to Transportation Committee. I'll ask Councilmember Davis to please take this committee.
At this time, no business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. Do we have any other business from council members? Thank you. Only thing I had is what I talked about in committees is that we will continue to keep our community in prayer as it relates to COVID-19 and the Delta variant, and pray for the young man who lost his battle or succumbed to COVID, a 17-year-old football player from Douglas County High School, to remember those young people as they go back to school and his family, and for us to be safe as well. We'll move on then to updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Dotson.
No business, Madam.
Thank you, sir. A staff attorney, Ms. Lynn Woodward.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Major, Captain.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, from the police department. Our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
No business, Madam Mayor.
What? Okay.
I don't believe her.
Me either. We have GMA that's coming up. Council members, please be safe. I'm not sure if, I know our city manager is going to attend, if the Miss Vicky, the clerks, or anyone else attending. Okay. Our assistant city manager, please, everyone be safe driving or however you are able to get there as we go to our annual conference. Staff reports. Do we have any staff reports? Thank you. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you would like, if you sustain the meeting and you'd like to come forward and give us any remarks, you have 5 minutes. Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record. Kiwanis? Maybe not, just guessing. Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, Council, my name is John Stone. I live at 6040 Lindale Street, Douglasville. It's in the county.
Yes,
my
sir.
wife and I are both here tonight. We both own property and businesses in the city of Douglasville.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is a street in the city. It's called Hard Rock Drive. It's off Highway 5. It goes into McKay Boulevard, which comes out on Bright Star.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to the code enforcement people several times. They've been very cooperative and worked very hard to eliminate the problem there. We have a piece of property on Highway 5. We go Bright Star to check on it periodically. I've been down Hard Rock Road several times in which I've had to back up to McKay Boulevard because of a large fire truck or emergency vehicle or a larger vehicle than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Cars are parked on the side of the road, in the road, and on the right-of-way at least 3 of the businesses. There's one business there that has cleaned up his act and done a real good job. That's where the old restaurant used to be. The guy who brought this has done a real good job, but there's still a situation there. Code enforcement goes by, talks to them, they clean up the road. 3 days later, they're back in the road. I went by today, I went by at noon today. There was one car there, went by this afternoon coming to this meeting. There's 3 cars there. I have seen a car sit there for over 3 weeks. It sits up on the drive in the street. And what I'm asking that the city or the council do is authorize signs to be placed. Code enforcement indicates that signs need to be placed, no parking, so that we'll give law enforcement an opportunity to ticket these individuals so that they will move the vehicles into the proper place. That's part of that. And I want to congratulate and thank code enforcement for the effort that they have done. They have gone out of their way, and it's been a problem, but it needs a fix. That's all of that part. The other part is we also own property on Selman Drive at Selman and Bowden. There is a hazard there. Behind our property, there is a water drain. We have spoken to WSA. It's an old, long-time problem that is resolved many years ago, and things have added to it that has created a stream or a ditch behind our property. It's on our property. It is going to cause us to have to remove several large trees at our expense before they fall on somebody's home or an individual. I'm coming to the council to let you know, and I'll probably come back to a work session to bring you more information about this. This is a long-time problem. It's not all your problem. It probably started back in 1988 when they redid the road there and made a culvert below the parking lot at the high school, which never had a culvert. They cut a culvert across the road, a Selman Drive that comes from Selman up to Camelton, and dumped water into an area. And for many years, it was covered up, no one saw it. And when we began to clean up around our property, it became more prevalent. And it goes into Bowden and down under the street at Selman and into the creek by the golf course. We have talked to WSA. They say that water flows downhill. Yeah, we all know that. And but there's existing problems that it needs to be corrected. I'm just touching base with the council to let you know, and I'm going to come back to a work session and show you more information and pictures and things of this nature. And I appreciate your time, and I would appreciate your help in the future. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stone, you and Mrs. Stone for coming to the meeting, and we give you kudos for sustaining this long and bringing your concern. And I should not, I really shouldn't give answers, but I'll just give a recommendation about the water concern. I know the staff is going to look at your issues on Hard Rock Drive with code enforcement and the police department and signage and all of that. Captain Cannon will take that information back. But for Water and Sewer Authority, they have just received resources. The resources are coming from the American Rescues Act. And rather than bring the concern to the city, because we really can't, you know, we're out of the, I mean, we support the Water and Sewer Authority, and as a board member on that authority, but they've received those resources to help with some of these personal issues that impact citizens. So I would recommend that you talk to Gil Sharous about that concern and bring that to the Water and Sewer Authority Board of Directors so that we can look at that. They're going to establish a criteria, and people will fill out applications and try to remedy some of those issues that impact everyone in the community, but that are on personal property. Yes, sir. And I thought it was Kiwanis, see? No, it's not Kiwanis.
One additional thing to let you know that.
Yes, sir.
As I said, this is an age-old problem, which part of it resulted from the old city and the city water system and the school system when they revamped and repaved the road and put in culverts and put in a bike path with no curbing or anything of this nature. All of this is all part of it.
All
So,
connected.
yeah.
So 1986, we turned it over to WSA, the city, but yes, sir, we'll
Thank you,
all
ma'am.
look at it. Yes, sir. It's good to see you all. Thank you so much. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Please come forward. You have 5 minutes to speak to us. Thank you. I don't see any. Well, I will open the floor to adjourn into executive session to discuss a potential property acquisition after a short recess. I'll open the floor for a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been properly moved in second by Councilmember Adams and second by Mayor Pro Tem Miller to adjourn into executive session to discuss a potential property acquisition. Do we have any comments as it relates to that issue, this issue? Not seeing any. All those in favor of adjourning to executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourning to executive session after a short recess.
That's a thick book.